My name is Ron Mitchell, and I'm a former veteran broadcaster of radio and television. Now, on the TV end of it, I was working primarily behind the scenes, but I just wanted to tell my story today. I started out when I was about 14 years old, and my voice kind of dropped down. And I don't want to go back as many years, okay, 40 years ago, because right now I'm 55. And a lot of people, when they turn 50 years old, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm 50," you know. And they started making all kinds of drastic changes in their lives, which is I found not necessary, because I love the fact that I'm growing old gracefully, because sometimes when you get older, you get better if you use the wisdom that is provided by wise people. My father was a wise man, and he would give me a lot of instruction. Some of it, when you're growing up, you don't take, and some of it you do. But you learn later on down the road is that, I should have taken the advice that my father gave me. Anyway, I've had two great, awesome dads. My biological father, his voice was about 2 octaves lower than mine, and he didn't laugh a lot. He was more of a serious guy, but I would watch him all the time, because he was certainly, the respect for him was just outstanding. He loved his family. I come from a family of 8, and I'm the second oldest. But getting back to my passion, when I was 14 years old, my voice dropped, and I would sit there watching like Walter Cronkite, and at the end of his broadcast, he would say, "And that's the news." And I loved it. I mean, I don't know, something inside of me got the idea, or there was something that was stirring inside of me that says, you know what, I'd like to be a broadcaster like that. And years would pass, and my voice developed to where I actually sounded like a broadcaster. And my teachers would tell me, they said, "Well, I think that you should go into radio." And I'm like, "Wow, that's a good idea." But I didn't really realize my dream until I was right around like 18, 19 years old. And the passion in that thing began to stir up in me that I really wanted to do radio. I really wanted to do radio. And my ultimate goal was to be the best news anchor on TV. That was my goal. And I really wanted to shoot towards this goal. So what I did was, I was talking to my mom one day, and we were sitting at the table, and she knew what my passion was, to be in radio. And she says, "Well, you know what, you should stop fooling around with that thing and go down to the radio station and tell them that you want to be on the radio." And she knew that I had never been on the radio before, but I loved it. I loved hearing the DJs and the programs, and I was like, "Man, I could do that. That I could do that." And so I went down to a little station in McMinnville, a little small station, and I went in and I talked to the guy. Now, usually when you're stepping outside of the boat, you're a little bit intimidated, because you don't know how to really approach that thing. But I decided that, you know what, this is something that I'm going to do. What are they going to tell me? The worst that they can tell me is no. So I went in there and I was talking to the guy, and he was on the phone talking to another guy. And he says, "Hey, look, I found my 6 to midnight guy." And when he got off the phone, he said, "You know what, I'm going to put you on. You're going to work from 6 to midnight at this radio station." And I was like, wow, this is exciting. I mean, I was realizing the dream. I had taken the first step in realizing the dream that I had for many, many years. And this is the crazy thing, is that he told me to come in the next day. And I'm like, wow, I've never been in a radio station. I don't know how to do a program. And do the music and all of that. I just have the voice. And so that's what, pretty much I depended on was, okay, you got the voice, but you don't have the actual skill to do what you needed to do. And I got fearful. I really did. I was sitting there and the DJ was on the air and he was about to get off. So he put on a long song. And when he put on that long song, I was thinking to myself, I broke out into a cold sweat, and this fear came over me and said, wow, what the heck are you going to do? Because you're about to sit behind that booth, and you're going to mess up because you've never done this before. And so one thing I did was I began to pray. I'm like, God, help me. What am I going to do? I'm going to fail at this thing. And this is my first chance at it, and would I get another chance? And I wanted to be good, and I wanted to really do this thing. And so I sat there. I'm sitting there sweating because I don't know what to do. And the song is playing down. And lo and behold, the janitor comes in, the guy that cleans up the place, and he's standing over me, and he says, you're about to go on the air. And I'm like, yeah. He says, well, have you picked your music? Do you know how to read the program? And I'm like, no, I don't know any of this. He just told me I'm on from 6 to midnight. And he says, he looks at me kind of strange. He said, come on, I'll show you what to do. The guy walks me into the music room, and he brings a program with him, and he says, you got to pick out your music because you're going to have to play this at this particular time, that particular time. You're going to have to do your commercials, and here's your commercial spots. And then at that particular time, they had him on an 8-track tape, and I know I'm dating myself, but this was the analog world. This wasn't even the digital world yet, and so he helped me pick out all my commercials and all of that kind of thing like this. And the guy sat with me. He sat with me through the whole program. And he continued to do that for 2 weeks. And I began to I look for him every day because I'm like, okay, this guy is my motivation, and I'm going to be able to do this thing as long as he's standing there. Well, after 2 weeks, he was gone. I walked in there, and the other DJ was coming out, and I'm walking to do my shift, and he's not there anymore. But you know what? At that point, I realized, you know what? You've been doing this for 2 weeks. You are a DJ. You are a broadcaster. And so you need to broadcast. And from that point on, it was heaven to me because I'm living my dream. I'm living this passion. And I went on to a major radio station in Portland, KXL News 750. And I worked with some very heavy hitters there. And I was so glad to be there. I didn't get on the air when I was there, but I wanted to. But, sometimes in radio there's some big egos, and I didn't get to get on the air, but I wrote the news, and I did everything. I learned everything about that station that I could possibly do. I was writing the news for one of the broadcasters, a very famous broadcaster, and I won't mention his name, but there were some things that I was looking at that I was very impressed with, and I said, you know what, this is my thing. I want to be on the air. I was a talk show coordinator over there. They let me do everything except be on the air, and that's what I wanted to do. So I was there for about 4 years, and then I said, you know what, if I can't be on the air, I'm going to find a place that I can be on the air, and I did. I found several different stations that I was able to get on. One of them was a jazz station, and I found that, I had somewhat of a jazz voice. I can break it down at night and do smooth jazz, on cool radio. And that was the thing for me. I just love being on the air. And I should have stayed in radio. I really did. I did television with TBN, Channel 12. I did, camera operations and things like that. But my passion was, as I said, I'm going to be that great newscaster. And, a buddy of mine came to me and said, you know what, you'd be great in sales. This is after I've been into radio and television for like 18 years. You're going to be good in sales, and you should try that out. And I'm thinking, okay, well, something in the back of my mind said, if you can't live your dream, why don't you try something else and then come back to it? Well, once you're in broadcasting, once you're in radio, don't get out. It's a bug. It gets a hold of you, and you just can't get rid of it. You're always going to be a broadcaster. You're always going to sound like a broadcaster. What are you going to do? So, the best broadcasters in the world have stuck by their passions. They've gone out, they've done what they needed to do, they put in the time, and they're living their dream. And here I was working in a retail store, selling shoes. And I was good at it. I was really good at sales, and he was right. But then, after a while, I'm thinking, this is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get back in radio and do that. I went back to school, went to National Broadcasting School, and some other schools and whatever like that, just to keep my, keep my learning curve up. But I, for some reason, when the door shuts, it shuts. And now there's a lot of internet radio and internet TV and stuff like that. And so the age of radio is still there, but it's not as prominent as it was back in the day. And here I am, I'm still having that passion, having that dream that I wanted to be a broadcaster. So that's why I decided I'm going to make this video, and I'm going to say, hey, I'm a broadcaster. I'm a professional broadcaster, and that's what I want to do. I want to get back on the air. And so if this video gets to the right person, I was watching Ted Williams, the homeless guy. And he was discovered because he was standing on the side of a highway, holding up a sign, and says, "Man, I've fallen on bad times, and I'm a good voiceover, a broadcasting guy." And he was discovered, and basically, being homeless or whatever, you get into drugs and drinking or whatever like that, and it's almost like there's a hopelessness there. But Ted went on to do commercials for Kraft's macaroni and cheese. Ted's voice sounded great. It really did. And I listened to him, and I was like, wow, I can do that. I can do that. I'm not a homeless guy, but I have the voice that I can do the same kind of broadcasting, the same kind of commercials, and be as good or better. Now, why can I do that? Because I'm not standing on the edge of a highway holding up a sign? No, I have the talent and the abilities to reach out in other ways, and that's video or voiceovers or something. You see, you can't get discovered if you're not out there. And so I wanted to be out there. And I'm making this plea. I'm saying, hey, I want to be a broadcaster. I want to get back into radio. I want to be a news anchor and report the news and all kinds of different things, because that's still my passion, and I want to live my passion. So if there's anybody out there that's listening that hears my voice and says, wow, that guy sounds like a broadcaster, and I've got the connections, I've got the networking, I can get this guy on, then please give me a call, because I'm waiting for that call. I'm waiting for that call because I'm going to be the best broadcaster on the news today. That's because I've got the passion to do it, and I've got the drive to do it and the motivation to do it. So thank you for listening.